Hello and welcome to the Sharp Edge podcast, where we provide valuable insight and advice on the marketing and other business type questions that painting contractors encounter as they work towards achieving their goals. Now here's our hosts, Martin Morgan and Becca Hackley. Welcome to the Sharp Edge podcast, a podcast that's all about being the ultimate marketing and business resource for painting contractors. Before we jump right into today's topic, we're going to take a quick second to introduce ourselves. So hello, people of the podcast world. My name is Becca, and I work in the fun world of marketing at Pro Painter Websites. I have the opportunity to engage with your online presence. So in your competitive industry, I focus on your website, Facebook, and how you're bringing in new customers while doing my absolute best to provide valuable information to get you exactly where you want to be. So let me hand it on over to Mr. Martin Morgan himself.
I have been in marketing for something like 20 years. A lot of my focus, I like to look at strategy, overall approach to the market, kind of trying to help you figure out, all right, what might my niche be, or how do I get the word out? And also messaging. What are those things that are going to really resonate with the target audience? Who are you trying to reach? What message do you need to get them with? All of those types of things. But I think a very important point as well is what we're always going to try to focus on here on the Sharp Edge podcast is providing practical information that you can use. So it's not going to be super high theory, up in the clouds, but we're going to really look at what are the practical tips, or how can you put this into practice to help you in your business.
So now that you know that we're here to help you, let's actually jump into what you came for. In this episode, we focus on what it means to find your marketing voice and personality to help you be able to find a better way to communicate who you are to your customers. So Martin, how would you best describe what a marketing voice or a personality is?
So I'm going to describe this in two different ways, Becca. The first being really the voice and personality is a consistent way of really representing your business. So what you put out there through any of the methods that you use, which might be your website or social media or even in-person discussions, events, person to person, person to multi-people, phone calls, all of those things. And what you're really trying to focus on is what are you trying to put forward? What do you want people to think about you? And then that brings the other perspective. So the other way to think of marketing voice is when you think of people that hear from you, that know of your business, what do they think when they hear your name? What do you stand for?
So in order to help find your marketing voice, you got to ask yourself, what is your business's differentiating factor? So what makes you stand out? Martin, what are some things painting contractors can do to help them stand out?
I think the key to this, Becca, is this is one of those areas where you want to jump up a level or two. So you want to be really deliberate about it. You want to make the decisions. You don't want to just default to what people think. So take the time to figure out what you want your voice to be. What do you want to stand for? What do you want people to think when they hear your name? A good way to start with this is to ask people. So ask your customers, if you have the opportunity, ask them, what 3 words would they use to describe you? And if you can ask a pretty good number of customers, you're going to figure out, whether you know it or not, really what your voice is. And then from there, you need to compare that to what you want it to be. So if people tell you the things that you want to hear, so let's say you ask 10 different customers, and 8 of them say responsive, and you want to be responsive because that can help you stand out. Well, good, you're doing a really good job of that. If you know you want to be responsive, but only 1 of the 10 says responsive, then you're probably not doing as good of a job as you might want to do from that standpoint. So I think what you want to do, right? Yeah, people will give. They will, which is why it's valuable to ask them. in these instances. And then what you do as you're considering, okay, what I want my voice to be, think about those things, as you said, Becca, that can differentiate you from others. So, is it efficiency? Are you able to get things done rather quickly with a good amount of quality? Responsiveness is one of the things that I mentioned. Being attentive to customer needs, understanding, working with them closely, empathy. Have you been in business for a long time? Are you known around town as the painting contractor that people go to get tough jobs done? And or is there some sort of specialty that you have? Can you really build a strong business by finding a niche focus and being really good at one special type of thing?
Yes, ask your customers, hear what they're saying about you. I mean, they're going to be the ones with the most honest answers, and that's going to give you a great idea of what they think of you and how you should maybe turn your business to maneuver a different way, or maybe you're on the right track. So those are great. And listening and asking those follow-up questions to your customers, especially in this industry of painting, like that's a must. People are going to recognize when you ask and you actually care to hear their response, because a lot of people already have their own ideas generated in their minds, and it can be lost easily, especially when it comes to painting their house or painting the interior of inside. They all have these mental images of what they want to see and what they want to look like, and if it doesn't come out that way, it's going to be negative on your business. So being able to have a painting contractor who goes just above and beyond to fully understand the look that a customer is searching for can be a huge differentiator.
I think that is a key thing that you mentioned there, Becca, because as you work with that customer, listening, telling them that you're listening, a good thing to use is in those cases is saying something along the lines of, what I hear you saying is this. What I think you're talking about is this, but just confirming with them, because you want people to know that you want them to know they're being heard and that you really are listening, which will help you both at that time and along the line, which means that they're also going to be much more open to listening to you. And so as you get that opportunity to talk about those things that you do different, and if one of those things is active listening or responsiveness, you have that opportunity to demonstrate it with them in those instances. They're really going to embrace what you stand for when you're actively demonstrating it right in front of them.
Yes, reiterating is a huge thing, that's for sure. So the last thing that I'll just add about the differentiator is, like, any quirky aspects about you or your business can be really fun. So because people want to find a connection with you. So if that means sharing on a website, Facebook, or any type of ads, or even in real conversation with your customers about like a family backstory, like how did your painting business get started, or a sweet tattoo that you have. I mean, those are just little things that can resonate with someone else. And in so many different ways, it's helpful to find one thing that you're passionate about. So maybe it's your name or your logo, and share that with your customers, because they'll remember, like, oh yeah, those were those XYZ painters. Like, this is why they're so special, because they've been around for 75 years, because their grandpa started it, their great grandpa was here. And it's just a really fun way to get a connection around the community that you're in.
That is so true, and I think one of the things that is nice that has developed, I think, in business is people are making human connections much more often, and it's often said that people will choose to work with somebody because they like them, and most often what you think about is like can be they have something in common with them, and the more things that you share out there, the more likely you are to find and make that connection, because people will say, oh yeah, I love that you guys did that, or that looks awesome, I want something like that. Or like you said, I loved the story of your family and how you've been in business for 80 years. That was really cool. Or you know what? I love tattoos too. Look at this. Look at this tattoo that I got. So there's lots of different things that you can do and ways that you connect with people, and it's totally fine. In fact, it's highly encouraged to be human and show those things that you care about.
Yeah, so another big aspect to finding your voice is how do you want your customers to feel about you? This goes hand in hand with how you make those connections with your customers too, because trust is a huge portion to success in the painting industry because people want to feel comfortable and they want to be able to trust the person who's working on their home or at their business. So, Martin, how can we use marketing tools to help demonstrate trust to a customer?
An important point here is oftentimes these are the things that can be taken for granted because as a painting contractor, you get used to just being in people's homes all the time. That's just part of the job. You're used to it. You're working in people's homes. Your team's working in people's homes. But for that person who might be looking for a painting contractor to take on a pretty big job in their house, if they're not used to having people in their homes like that and working in their homes as often. So that's a big deal. And so as you emphasize trust there, Becca, it really is true. You're working to build trust, to build credibility, to let people feel at ease with having you in their home and having the people on your team in their home and working in their house. So anything that you can do to set them at ease, to help them, and it's part of the emphasis you put on feel. How do you want your customers to feel about you? You want them to trust you. You want them to see you as credible. So you've got to do things out there that are going to help them do that. So there's a lot that you can do on a website to do that by, again, trying to make you and your team relatable. You want to show happy customers on your website, maybe through testimonials or reviews or pictures. Show you with some of the customers that you've worked with in pictures. Show your team with customers in pictures. Show the work that you've done. Obviously, painting is a very visual medium. It's a visual type of work. If you can demonstrate those things that you've done, then all of that stuff is going to help you build trust and credibility without even having the opportunity to directly interact with somebody.
Oh yeah, and in the painting business, any chance that you can show rather than tell a customer about your work is hands down the best way to go because as cheesy as this sounds, seeing really is believing when it comes to painting contractors. So give the customer something to look at, worth looking at is what I really should say, to help them make their best decision, which is to hire you if you've done it really well in just expressing just the kind of business you are, the work you do. They'll come to you.
And it definitely keeps that continued bond with customers. So those who enjoyed working with you, as you've had that connection, they're all the more likely to come back to you. So anytime that you can build that relationship, build that connection, it's also highly increases the likelihood that they might recommend you, refer you to somebody either in the neighborhood, maybe a family member, friends, all of those things. So it's definitely important to, again, build that connection, build that bond, and also show that trust and credibility on the different online marketing tools that you're using.
Yeah, and clearly it's important to create that emotional connection between your customers and your business to start off great, and then as well, like you mentioned, Martin, to get referrals. But this will also go hand in hand to demonstrate what kind of marketing personality or voice you have. So questions that you should ask yourself as a painting contractor: do they trust that you're going to take care of them? And with that question, how are you demonstrating that? Another question would be, can they always count on you for an honest recommendation or a price quote? There's a lot of different avenues that customers can go with paint or services, and I think you might be a little naive to think if they're not searching around or asking around. So be the person to be upfront, transparent with them, and they're going to appreciate that in the end, even if you are a little bit more. And third, how do they feel about your job being done? I mean, do they want to refer you to their neighbor? Are they going to talk about you on the Nextdoor app and say how efficient you were, how well you painted this, how well you cleaned up? I mean, that's huge in itself. Just how overall is your process, and are they going to come back?
And I think just to frame as we're talking about these pieces, Becca, you start by talking about what your voice is. If you have a personality as a business, and all of this stuff feeds into that importantly, because when you're in a business as a painting contractor, or a business like being a painting contractor, that trust and credibility is so important. So that needs to be a part of your voice. It needs to be a part of what you represent. But also really important is that you deliver on any of those things, that you're delivering on the promises that you make. If within the voice, if within the way that you approach customers or in your market or on your marketing materials, you're talking about trust and credibility, and then you have interactions with customers where you're not demonstrating trust and credibility, then you're really going to damage yourself and you're going to damage your business, because they can go out there and say, yeah, they said that they were going to do all these things, and they showed up late, they didn't respond, they didn't finish the job in time. All of those things that are really important. And I think the other piece that goes along with that is you want to think about it as more than just a transaction. These are people, and especially if you're working with homeowners, it's really personal. Their home is often very personal to them. So they're going to have a lot of emotions involved, feelings involved. You really want to work to empathize with them as much as you can, and be responsive. That customers are sometimes going to ask for outrageous things. They just are. Or you may do something for somebody which is exactly what they asked, and then they realize they don't like it as much as they hoped. All of those things. But empathy can go a long way, and just working alongside them, or saying, I'm sorry to hear you feel that way, or something like that, if they are, can often diffuse any sort of challenging situation. So continuing to show empathy throughout the entire process helps you build and then keep that connection that can continue to pay off a long ways down the line.
I love it's not just a transaction. That's something I think everyone in business all too often forgets, and that's a really big reminder just in this episode. Take that, please. Just your customers aren't just a transaction, it's a relationship. So, which brings me to, why does any of this matter? Building the relationships with customers on a foundation of trust and transparency, through the marketing material, like you were talking about, what you're posting online, what people are saying in reviews, and how you're responding to them in the reviews, as well as how you're actually talking to people in person, just shows how you run your business and how you view your work. And people are going to take that to heart, and they're going to share that if it's something positive and that they really enjoyed working with you.
They definitely will. And the great thing is, if you continue to serve customers well, you connect with them, you show that you care, you're empathetic, is that the customer voice just becomes an extension of your voice as a company, as an organization, of those things that you want people to think about you when they hear the name of your business. And even if you continue to do so well, that customer voice can almost take over or serve completely what you were trying to do with your voice. And that can be all the more impactful, because as you talk about things like word of mouth and online reviews, and you referenced Nextdoor, Becca, which is really huge in a lot of areas now, as far as getting recommendations and referrals for local local businesses, home service businesses especially. And if those customers are out there and they're talking about you and the good work that you did, you can kind of step away from having to do that. And they're the ones doing that. And now a potential customer isn't getting that information from you. They're not hearing you say it. They're hearing somebody that has been a customer of yours say it. And that can be, much more impactful because the proof is right there. You don't have to, we talk about building credibility and trust. Okay. I see these 15 customers of this painting contractor who all said that they did exactly what they were going to say they were going to do. The price was exactly what they quoted it as. They got done even early. They were responsive, easy to work with. Yeah, this sounds like exactly the type of painting contractor I want to work with. So those things are significantly make a significant difference as far as what the view of your business is in the marketplace.
And being able to look at your business from an outsider's perspective, so put yourself in your customer's shoes. I challenge you to actually write down these questions that we talked about and answer them as if you were the customer, because the goal of finding your marketing personality is to really get people to see genuinely what kind of person you are and the kind of business you run, because that is going to determine if this is the place that they want to give business to.
And we all have blind spots. Everybody does. And especially in the case where as an entrepreneur, you poured so much care and time and your heart into building a painting contracting business, that for the most part has worked real well. But sometimes you can be closed off from getting feedback from people because you almost take it too personally. And it does make it very difficult. You do have to step back a couple feet, I was going to say. It might be a couple yards in some cases, to really be open to what people say, because you can never improve on anything or make something better if you're not willing to accept that it's not at the level you want it to be. And the other thing is we can all get better at everything. Nothing is really perfect. So if we take that mindset and we just focus on getting better and be willing to take feedback that is going to help us get there, then everything can be improved. Thank you for listening to the Sharp Edge podcast. We hope you found some good, valuable, and practical information on how to utilize your voice to help you get new customers and build relationships with those that you have and those that you have had in the past. We'll be back with more information on at least a monthly basis, and we hope that you will continue to tune in. In the meantime, if you're looking for more advice on marketing and business-related topics for professional painting contractors, you can visit our website at www.propainterwebsites.com.
Thank you for listening to the Sharp Edge podcast. If you want more information about this, please visit propainterwebsites.com and head to our resource center. We plan on hosting a podcast each month, so subscribe. You won't want to miss out. Also, we just have one last favor to ask of you. It would mean a lot to us if you would share this with your friends or other painting contractors. Our goal is to help you succeed, so you can help us achieve this goal by telling someone else about the show. Thanks again and have a great day.